Today I'm going to show you how to set up OBS for game streaming. Easy. And I'm going to break it down in 3 easy steps so you can get the highest quality results fast. OBS can be a complicated mess when you're learning how to use it. One simple setting being off can be the difference between a good quality stream and a buffering, grainy stream disaster. I don't want any of you to have to go through that, and that's why I've spent the last month testing different settings with different games to bring you this process that's going to yield the best results possible no matter what game you're trying to stream. We have a lot to get to, so you know what? Let's get to it! My YouTube friends, step 1, settings. It's really important to get the video and audio settings dialed in just right if you want to have a quality stream. Now, some of this will depend on the equipment you're using as well, especially your encoder settings, but I'm going to give you a few options for different equipment. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is set up a new profile for our settings for our game stream. We're just going to go up here and we're going to click under profile and then new. We'll just call this game. That way we know which profile is specific for our game. We're going to optimize for streaming, obviously, and we're going to use our base canvas of 1920 by 1080. You really shouldn't go anywhere above that, and then we're going to use either 30 or 60 frames per second when possible. We're going to select which one we want. Now, if you're doing games, you're likely going to want to select 60 frames per second. And I'm just going to flat out tell you, I don't think this is necessary. Are your streams going to be smoother at 60 frames per second? Yes. However, it is going to also tax your machine, and I'm not sure that the payoff outweighs the negatives. However, we're going to set this up for 60 frames per second so you can see how it goes, and you can make the decision as to whether 60 frames per second works for you based on how your streams actually look when you're finished producing them. So we're going to go ahead and click next. We can set up our service. You can connect your account. You can do Twitch or YouTube or whatever. And at this point, you can go ahead and set up your Twitch by either getting your stream key or connecting your account. Let's go ahead and just connect our account. And prefer hardware encoding, you can have checked and estimate your bitrate, bandwidth, blah, blah, blah. It could take a few minutes. Well, let's see how close it gets. Why not? We're going to go ahead and click next, and it's going to estimate all this stuff for us. It actually does verify then what server is best for you and all that good stuff. So this is kind of nice for it to test, and it will do the same thing for YouTube if you decide to go that direction. And here it tells you what your settings are. So it's actually scaling my output resolution, and there's a couple things we need to change. But we're going to go ahead and apply the settings. Now we're just going to go into our settings here. First, we can look and see that our Twitch is all set up exactly the way that we would expect it to. We're going to go to our output here, and we're going to go and drop this down and go to advanced. If you leave it in simple, you can see what it's set up for you. It has your video bitrate, your audio bitrate, it has your video encoder, and all of this fun stuff. Let's go down here to video first so we can fix the one part that we want to fix. So our base canvas resolution, which is this right here, is set to 1920 by 1080. It's scaling our output resolution to 720, which is not what we want. We want to live stream in 1080, so we're going to go ahead and put that right there. We want to live stream in 60 frames per second, so we're going to leave that there. Now we can go into audio, and we can set our sample rate to whatever we want, and we want to make sure that all of these are disabled so we can select our own audio pieces, and nothing else on here really needs to be messed with at all. So we'll go into output, and this is where all the magic really happens. And of course we're going to take it out of simple and we're going to go into advanced. Since I have an NVIDIA graphics card, we're going to select H.264, and you can see that still doesn't change anything there. We do not want to rescale our output. We want our output resolution to be exactly the same as our canvas size, and we've got our rate control here. Now, since we're going to be streaming in 60 frames per second and we're going to Twitch, we're going to want to be somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 kilobits per second. Now, needless to say, the higher the kilobits per second, the higher quality or the more information you're sending to the platform. So I'll usually go with 6,000 kilobits per second, but it is quite possible that you do not have the bandwidth to take care of that on your machine. And if you don't, you can still get very, very good quality results even at 60 frames per second, as low as 4,000 kilobits per second. This is set properly for my system, and we've got our profile is high, and we're going to go ahead and put a look ahead and psychovisual tuning, GPU-U. And so all of this is set up for us to deliver a very, very high quality 1080 60 frames per second stream. We can apply this and we're ready to go. You can adjust this bit rate down as low as 4,000 kilobits per second and still have pretty good quality at 1920 by 1080. If you're going to go that low, I would recommend that you go ahead and adjust your frames per second to 30 frames per second. And I think, you'll get really high quality at 4,000 kilobits per second at 30 frames per second. And that's all dependent upon your internet connection speed. Really, that's what this is a product of. If you have an excellent connection upload speed, 6,000 kilobits per second is going to provide you an absolutely amazing image quality even at 60 frames per second. Of course, your machine still has to be able to encode that fast, but usually for something like NVIC, that's not going to be a problem. However, when we go ahead and we go to X264, which is the kind of encoder that you might be using if you do not have a dedicated graphics card. 4,000 to 6,000 kilobits per second is still your target. However, you have some more choices down here. So if the game that you are using has a lot of movement and that sort of stuff, you might want to put your profile on high right here. The tune doesn't matter, just leave it at none. This right here is also how fast your CPU will process your video, and very fast is usually pretty decent quality, but needless to say, the slower that you set your processing speed, the higher the quality that you're going to get. Don't be afraid to leave it in very fast and test it with the high profile and see if the quality is good enough for you. However, if you start to run into situations where your machine is just not processing fast enough, especially with X264, this is where you're definitely going to want to consider going with 30 frames per second and lowering your bit rate down closer to 4,000, and maybe even adjusting your actual resolution down to 720 if necessary. X264 uses your CPU to do all the processing, and if we are playing games and we don't have a graphics card, plus the computer is having to do all of the processing for the encoding, well, this is where you really run into problems. I really don't think it's a good idea to try to game stream on a machine that doesn't have a dedicated graphics card that will do encoding. But if you want to give it a try, at least now you know where you have to go to adjust the settings to try to make it work for you. So we're going to go ahead back here to our NVIDIA X264. We've got 6,000 kilobits per second. And we have everything set up exactly the way we want it. We can click apply. Now, if you're concerned about your audio quality, you can flip over here to audio and you can set your tracks to whatever you want. 160 is the standard. 320 is extremely high quality bit rate. And to be honest with you, I don't think you're going to notice much of a difference between 160 and 320. So you can experiment with this, and if your ear can tell the difference, you can certainly set it for higher, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you're going to get exactly what you're looking for at the 160 bit rate. Now we can be sure our streams are going to have visual quality when the viewers see it. Next, we have to give them something to see, and we're going to start with the most important piece. Step 2, adding our game. First thing I'm going to do is set up a new scene collection, and I'm just going to call this game tutorial, and that's just so we're ready for a new segment, and it's zoomed out, so we're going to just zoom it in. To do this, you just hit the space bar, it gives you that little hand, and then I can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So we're just going to call this scene game. What I'm going to do is right click and go to rename, and we'll just change this to game. That way we know which scene we're talking about. And it's pretty easy. There are two different ways that I would recommend that you do this. So the first one, we're going to click the plus, and we're going to use old handy game capture, which is right here. And you can name the game if you like, but we're not going to do that. And it's going to capture any full screen application. And you really don't need to change anything else on this. I do find that this captures pretty much any full screen application. So I can click OK, and you notice that we don't see anything. But if I go and I actually select the game, well, it will take a moment, but it will come up. And there we go. I have it running on a 720 monitor, which is why it's small, so I can just embiggen it and bring it all the way over. You'll notice the one thing that we don't have is any audio. So we're going to go ahead and add the audio for the game. We're going to click the plus, and we're going to go to Application Audio Capture, and we'll just call this Game Audio, and click OK. And we're going to go ahead and select the game audio. You might have a bunch of different things to select, but there you go. Click OK. And you can see we're not getting any actual audio here. Well, if I go ahead and I just click on the game, we can see that the audio then comes through on the stream. So one of the problems with doing it this way with game capture, I'm going to show you right here. So let's go and click the plus, and we're just going to create another scene and click OK. But now when I go back to game, well, it's blank again. So I have to click on the game and wait for it to load up. It takes a couple seconds. So that can be annoying for some people who don't want the game to actually disappear. Now, one way to work around this issue where your game disappears until you select it is to go ahead and take a screen capture of this. So what I'm going to do is go and we're going to just use the snipping tool here, and we're going to select it, and I'm just going to go ahead and capture this screen. There are better ways to do it. I could do it right on the game screen, but for this purpose, that's not going to matter. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and save as, and I'll just call it game still. Here we go. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click the plus, and I'm going to take the image of that game still that we just created, and I'm going to load it in here like that. So now if I select the game, you're going to see that you can't see it, and that's because the image is above our game capture. So there we go. Now our game is moving. If we go here and we come back, well, there's that game still. It looks like the game is still loaded. It isn't, but if we select our game, there we go. It switches on and we're good to go. So that way you just don't have a blank background when you switch back and forth. And that's definitely a viable workaround to the problem that's created because game capture has to have the game active in order to see the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete this game capture right here. And the game audio is always going to work that way. There's nothing we can do about that. But we really don't want to lose our visuals, I don't think. At least I don't. So we're going to go ahead and click the plus, and we're going to go with a display capture. Because you're always going to be running your game on a separate display. It's not going to be the same display that you're actually using for your stream. If you are running the game on the same display as you're actually running your stream, well, you're going to have some significant difficulties with changing scenes and all kinds of other things. Even with a Stream Deck, this is extremely difficult, and it makes it even harder to know what you're getting out on the stream. So I highly recommend, if you're going to be game streaming, you have at least 2 monitors. So we're going to select the display capture, and then we're just going to select the monitor that we are using for our game. And there we go. And we're going to click OK. And we'll just stretch this out so it fills the whole screen. And now if we go to scene 2 and we come back to game, it's always there. And there isn't any real quality degradation by using display capture, so you don't have to worry that you're not going to get the same quality visuals. Now you know how to get your games in here with high quality graphics so that everything is going to work properly and look fantastic. Now we have our game configured and added properly, so it's gonna look absolutely fantastic. The last piece of the puzzle is to add all of the flourishes. I mean, let's face it, if it's just our game, our stream is kind of boring. We can easily do so much more quickly without making our stream a lot more complicated. So these are the extra touches that make your stream really stand out. Step 3, add in the flare. So now we want to make our stream look awesome. And there are a lot of ways to do it, but one of the easiest ways is to make sure that you add a camera. Anybody on Earth could be playing Baldur's Gate 3 at this moment in time. So why would anyone watch you? Well, it's because it's you. And that you needs to be actually on the screen somewhere, because people relate a lot more with you than the 37 other people playing Baldur's Gate without a camera. So we're going to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. We're going to go over here to Scene 2, and I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to rename this. We're going to call it Camera. And what I'm going to do is click our little plus here, and we're going to add a camera to this scene. Video capture device, and we'll just call this Cam, and click OK. And there we go. We've got our multi-view. Everything looks good. We just need to get our microphone as well. So I like to come down here and use a custom device because I don't want to count on OBS knowing which microphone I want to use. We'll select my microphone right there. Click OK. And there we go. So we'll go back over here in the game, and we're going to use a little plugin called Source Clone. It's totally free. And what it's going to do is allow us to clone that camera. So the source and the clone, we're going to go with our camera, or we're just going to go with the source right there, Cam. And then we can just click OK. You can see that it brings over our audio. And now we can go into our source clone, go to filters, and now I can add in our NVIDIA background removal here. And we removed our background. And then if I go back out here to our camera, you can see it hasn't affected our camera at all. So the reason why we would do this is we want a talking head scene, and we're going to go ahead and set that up so we can do just talking when we start our live stream. And then all we have to do is go ahead and we can use that scene that we already created for the camera. We can put that in here. We can adjust it, because maybe we don't want all that other stuff in there. And there we go. So now we have a talking head scene and a game scene all set up. This is the basics of your live stream. We have a flourish in our game that has our camera. We're probably going to want to add 2 more things. We want to add some transitions to go in between scenes. And I think it's really easy to add alerts to your live stream. You definitely want to do it. It should be pretty high on your list because it gives your audience a way to interact with your live stream. So we've got our game scene and our talking head scene. I think we want to add a transition, and so how we're going to do that is to go over here into our scene transitions. Now we already have one. It's the fade transition. We can also do the cut transition. They're pretty lame. We're going to click the plus, and we're going to do a Luma wipe. Everyone's going to have access to the Luma wipe, which is why I'm showing it. There are lots of different ones that you can select, like burst, and you can just see how these work. I really like that one. That one's pretty cool. But my favorite, personally, is the watercolor. And it looks not very interesting when you use it like that. But we're going to go ahead and click OK. And you'll see how it looks when we go back and forth. But what I'm going to do is just increase the duration on it to 3000 milliseconds instead of 300. And now we get a really cool transition from one scene to another. And I really like how that works. So now we've added a really cool transition between our scenes. We can go ahead and quickly add some alerts and finish it off. And I do think that alerts are kind of important for that. So I'm going to take 5 minutes and show you how to quickly set these up. To do that, we're going to use Stream Elements. It's really, really easy to do. If you've never used it before, you just want to click Get Started. Otherwise, you can just log in. When you click Get Started, it's just going to try to log in and connect to the platform you plan to be streaming to. Whether it's Twitch or YouTube, select one of those platforms and just go through the login process. It is pretty simple. Here's how it works. I'm going to go ahead and select YouTube. It's going to ask me to select my account. And boom, I'm already in, but I already had it set up. You might have to go through a little bit more. Once you're in, this is really easy. We're going to go and expand our streaming tools. We're going to click overlays. You're not going to have all these in here because you haven't done this before. I have a whole bunch in here, but what we're going to do is create a new overlay, and you want to make sure that it's the same size as you're streaming in my case 1920 by 1080. We're going to click start. I'm going to come up here and name this, and I'm just going to call this one standard overlays because that's what I'm going to show you. It's the standard overlays that take 5 seconds to create and can add alerts to your live stream. And all we have to do is go to widgets, alerts, and alert box. And boom, we have an alert box. We can actually go in here and take a look at what these alerts are going to look like. We can go and place them anywhere on the screen that we want, but none of that really matters. We're really seriously finished. We can click save, and then we'll click this little link here, and we'll go over here into our OBS, and we'll just place these in the scenes that we want to use them in. So first we'll place them in the game scene. We're going to go ahead and click the plus. We're going to go to browser, and we'll call this alerts. And we only have to do this once. We'll go ahead and paste in what we have there. We want to go 1920 by 1080, and we want to control the audio via OBS because these do have audio. We're going to click OK, and there we go. So now our alerts are in here. All we have to do is go into our talking head scene, click the plus. We're going to go to browser. We're going to go ahead and add existing because we already have the alerts set up. We're going to click OK, and now we have the alerts in both. You just want to make sure that they are on top, and now we can test them to make sure they work. And like I said, these are just the basic alerts. They're the kind of alerts that everybody is going to have standard. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go ahead and we'll pull this over here, and we'll select this right here. And then all we have to do, I'm going to go ahead and mute it here, is go and emulate, and we want to emulate a subscriber event. We click it, there we go. Our alerts here, it's working perfectly. If we go over to our talking head, it's going to be the same thing. We'll wait for that one to disappear, and we'll go to subscriber event, and boom. When you first start out, subscriber events are what you're going to have. You're not going to have the ability to use super chats or donations or memberships or any of that stuff, whether it's Twitch or YouTube. However, once you set this up, you can actually take donations on your brand new live stream. We're going to go over here to standard overlays, and I'm going to just quickly show you. If you go into revenue right here, you could set up your tipping settings. And this is really simple. You could set up your payment providers and your page settings and all that stuff so that you could put a link in your description and in your chat every once in a while, and people can send you a tip that will trigger one of those alerts, which is awesome, and you can make a little bit of scratch on your live stream. They don't take anything. It goes right to PayPal or any of the other payment providers they may actually have. It's really, really simple to set this up, and once you do, you have a way to actually take donations, and then those alerts will actually mean a little bit more. And it's a great way for your audience to be able to interact with your stream as well. Now, the other scenes that you might want to add would be starting soon, be right back, and an end scene. And there are lots of different ways that you can get those scenes and set them up. I'm not going to cover that right here. I just want to make sure that you're able to stream with a talking head scene and a game scene, which are the ones that you're going to spend 99% of your live streaming life using. Those other screens will just be on there at the beginning and end, and maybe if you go to the bathroom. You can spend time working on those later. We just want to get you up and live streaming with the highest quality possible right now. So now we've set up simple flourishes. We have a camera in our game scene. We have all of our audio set up, and we have a really cool transition. That's more than enough to get you started and learning how to communicate directly with your audience. And most of all, having fun, because when you're having fun, your audience is going to want to be around to have fun with you. And that audience connection is is what's going to grow your channel. Now you're totally ready to push that go live button and stream a high quality stream to your viewers. If you want to learn how to add cool animated masks to your live streams that can add even more personality, you should check this video out. And if you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks to help make you a better live streamer or YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Michael Fire Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.